Good afternoon, everybody. It's Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading, on March 4, 2026, and I've been wanting to create this video all day, but something else always came up. I'm going to continue reading on the Targeted Individual Handbook by Loki, Hulgaard, Hulgaard. It's a PDF. I read a little bit about this on a video last week, and I'm going to read about directed energy attacks. But before I get into it, please remember to hit the thumbs up, listen to the end. It helps the channel grow, get the message out there, and we are remonetized, so you will, in fact, start seeing advertisements and super chats, etc. that you can purchase. Directed energy attacks. The human body is an electromagnetic organism. It is a vibratory organism. As such, each organ and region of the body vibrates at a different frequency of electromagnetic energy. By varying the frequency and intensity of each stream of energy, the CIA and DOD, which is the Department of Defense, the CIA, I think they're the criminals in the air, and the DOD is the Department of Defense operatives, can manipulate and damage each region and organ of the human anatomy. Hypergame theory attacks. Now remember, Princeton mathematical professor John Forbes Nash invented game theory. As soon as you say they won't, then they will. And as soon as you say that they will, then they won't. Everything the CIA, DOD operatives are doing is based on off, if, and then scenarios, which are founded on the hypergame theory principle. If the victim does this, then they will do that. If the victim does that, then they will do this. Isn't that wonderful? In order for trauma-based mind control to be effective, the mind control victim, you and I and millions of other innocent people in the US and around the world, they're kept in a constant state of severe pain, stress, hypertension, agitation, anxiety, etc., utilizing a continuous stream of directed energy targeting the victim. And I will attest to the fact that today I was picking up a lot of witchcraft, and for those of you that don't know, there's a lot of witchcraft that goes on here in Jackson County, Kentucky. They spread it all over the property. And we did have the blood moon, so you know that they were busy here on my property. And they were busy, so I've been busy picking it up. So anyway, when I'm picking up all this stuff, they are creating so much stress because... Oh, did you hear that little pop in the background? Just so you know, a subscriber emailed me about that little pop in the background. It's telling me that my laptop is hacked, which I already knew, but this is a clear sign telling me that it's been hacked. Okay. So let's see. In order for trauma-based mind control to be effective, the mind control victim is kept in a constant state of severe pain, stress, hypertension, and agitation, anxiety, usually utilizing a continuous stream of directed energy targeting the victim. So as I was going to say is, when I return to my house, and this is the difference between walking in different places on my property. When I was at the top of the hill picking up the bitchcraft, I was fine. I wasn't feeling any electromagnetic attacks. As soon as I was in about 30 feet of my front door of my house, my ears, I felt this wave attacking my ears. It is so clear that my immediate vicinity, my immediate home environment is being bathed in microwaves and radio frequencies. Trauma-based mind control is based on the constant provocation of the victim into set responses constantly, all day, all night long. So they're constantly provoking the target, both physically, emotionally, into set responses with their remote neural monitoring manipulation system, can remotely measure via a continuous stream of directed energy constantly interacting with the nanotechnology in the victim's body, and we all have it in our bodies. If you're a targeted person, they have come into your home, they have spread it all over your clothing, all inside of your house, sometimes in your food. They've infected your animals, your pets with it. If you own property like mine, they have infected your land with nanotechnology, so that if you're walking on it, it's on your shoes. And by the way, and this is fact, I have never, unlike New Jersey, I have never walked barefoot. In all the years I'm living here on my property, I have never worn shorts outside. I've never not worn long sleeves. I wear long sleeves. I cover my body all the time here because of the nanotechnology, the spraying of the skies, etc. I think when I first moved here, I was wearing short sleeves. That stopped. Hence, the mind control victim is more easily provoked in this constant state of physical, psychological trauma. This allows them to manipulate the victim's brain, and by default, the victim's central nervous system, which controls bodily functions, including your heart rate and your blood pressure. Now I'm just going to stay in reading this. This sounds like an experiment, right? Doesn't it sound like an experiment? Something that they would do in a lab with rats and other unfortunate animals. But no, this is happening real time to innocent people, for profit, human trafficking, with gaslighting, psychological abuse, harassment, grenades thrown on your driveway, little bleeps and bloops on your laptop here, changing the brightness on your iPhone computer, on your iPhone screen. Nonstop. Today, I received a pet food delivery of birdseed. I pick up the box, and I could hear stuff jiggling around in there. Like, it's not supposed to be that way. I spend extra money on this birdseed so that it's packaged properly. I open it up, and one of the boxes inside the box, the safety seal was sliced open. Not only was it sliced open, but the cover was deliberately open so that the food would fall out all inside of the box. So that's not the first time this happened this week. So that's one of many things that happened today. And I'm sure you've got your own stories to tell. I'm just adding a little bit of a diagram to how they traumatize people. And not that receiving a damaged box is traumatizing. But what if it happens every day? What if your boxes arrive damaged every day? What if pentacles are drawn on the outside of your boxes? What if your neighbors are driving by only making noise in front of your property? What if they're only beeping the horn at you when you're walking to your mailbox? What if you wake up and the temperature on your feet is 98 degrees when it should be around 75? This is not normal. This is an assault. Remember that they are trying to alter your daily motives and emotional perceptions. What these directed energy attacks are about: killing in a way that makes your premature death appear as normal, natural cause, while simultaneously discrediting you in the process. And just remember that everybody involved in this has murder, premeditated murder on their plate. They've got blood on their hands. And this is for educational purposes only. I'm merely reading a handbook. The remote neural monitoring system is designed to provoke you emotionally, intellectually, physically, so they can generate response statistics which the system will use to determine how to interpret and link descriptions with data captured about your memory references. And then what happens is if they knock you out with radio frequencies, those memory references will be discombobulated. They won't be stored. Or you'll have to think a little harder to remember them because they've interfered with the process of memory storage. That's why they're constantly trying to keep you talking, or constantly stopping you and asking for directions. So ignore the prolonged random encounters with people that you don't know. And that goes for people, in a chat, in a live chat. That goes for people that are sending you emails out of the blue that have nothing to do with your channel or anything that you're remotely interested in. That goes to do with comments that are left in the comments section sometimes that actually have nothing to do. They do not relate to the video that they allegedly just listened to. So just refuse to allow them to manipulate you, which is very hard to do when you're under stress. It's very hard to do. So once they have consistent statistics, the system will use previous choice references and inject them into your subconscious thought during normal activity, which is also accompanied by simultaneously impulse injections to convince you that the response was your own and influence you to complete or describe the reference by making the appropriate verbalization or performing a related action, which is known as verification. You can fight and or control this if you learn to defeat these memory attacks by learning to read active memory. Once they see what you respond to emotionally or intellectually, they will fabricate conversational or situational or scenarios, like the street theater, based on events or topics that they know will capture your attention. This is why the perps try to keep you talking for so long. Not just to aggravate you, but to provoke you into an emotional response. Well, fortunately for me, I don't have any conversations with my criminal neighbors. So they can map your thought process in order to subsequently inject impulses and control your mind. This is why the feds try to get people close to you by approaching you or befriending you with a hot girl, like a honeypot, a honey trap. And as I'm speaking, there's some ants crossing my laptop. Because this week, that was the new thing. Ants on the laptop. Here's how you stop that from happening. Ignore all prolonged random encounters with strangers you don't know and be spontaneous. The same remote neural attack can be used to disrupt your speech if the attackers decide to prevent you from discussing a specific topic or repeating a given word. And that has happened to me many times recording these videos. You may hear me grasp for vocabulary, which is so not like me. And that is because I'm being prevented from saying something or remembering something. And of course, that can be more effectual if you're tired, if you're sleep deprived, if you're stressed out, etc. The system can be configured to disrupt your recollection when formulating a related statement or inject gibberish. Did you hear the little blurp, the little blurp in the background? As soon as I said inject gibberish, the little criminal who's in my laptop did a little blurp. So they will inject gibberish, which is a triggered substitution, while you're attempting to speak. And this has happened to me so many times that sometimes I have to go back into my videos and edit it out. Again, the goals of these attacks appear to be threefold. 1, censorship. They don't want you to say something. So it's not like see something, say something for targeted people. They just don't want you to say anything if you're a targeted person. Oh, but it's okay if the criminals see something and they say something that's falsified or fabricated. Another goal of these attacks is memory management. They want to control what you remember and what you don't. Another goal of these attacks is a direct behavioral control. These remote neural attacks are most effective when you're stepping through sequenced tasks. So try to avoid zoning on your activities. How? Changing your actions and activities randomly and constantly at the speed of thought. Don't always plan out or think your daily itinerary if you don't have to, so just do it. Be spontaneous. Oh yeah, like Nike, just do it. Remote neural manipulation is accomplished via their system's ability to interpret your thoughts and is wholly dependent on its ability to predict, because they're psychics, to predict and influence your reference choices or impulse sequencing during thought composition. Like while you're composing your thoughts, they're going to influence that because you're thinking about it in your mind's eye, and they might change it or prevent you from saying it. The system maps patterns with impulses and identifiers, which are evoked potentials, and they use statistical data about your composition habits to predict how you will think or act as you begin to formulate thoughts or prepare to act. The system's ability to define and map these references intelligibly depends on your cooperation or ignorance and the attacker's ability to make sense of what they see visually, because some of these morons, they can't always interpret what it is that they're seeing, even though that's their job to do, or what they can guess based upon your past activity. And what happens is if they bring new people on, new handlers, they don't actually have that. They have to study up on the person. They've got to study up on them. Like the cyber stalker that I have, who's been studying up on me at least since 2024. They will constantly run you through a verification routine where the system probes you for a particular set of responses repeatedly in order to establish a pattern. If you're interacting and countering these probes, the operator will vary the routine in an attempt to verify a different method. Once the system verifies the selected responses, they will be used in the next wave of harassment routines. The process is endless, and you will see the effects clearly if you're consistently defeating the system. If you're not defeating the remote neural manipulation system, then you will not see or notice the effects. So how to combat this? Did you hear the little blurb? Maintaining situational awareness and learning to read active memory, i.e. mindfulness.